Okay. How are you feeling today?
Good. Good. Nervous, but good.
Nervous but good.
Yeah.
Okay. And how was your day?
Well, I landed at 6:25 in UAE after a 7.5 hour flight. And I slept for 4 hours. And then I took my mom out. Right after I took my mom out and fully forgot I had to come over here. I got the call from Zaidan, and that's when I made my way towards here, right after dropping my mom. So I couldn't really fast and
And you
furious it.
Took my name wrong.
I did?
It's Zian.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Things to edit out.
Just to clear all the confusion, Zian,
Yeah.
Vishal,
Vishal.
Yeah. And what's your name?
Deb.
Deb. But if we have to pronounce your name fully,
Deborah.
Deborah.
I'll tell you why he's asking this, because we had a huge argument when I said your name is Deborah, and he's like, your name is Deborah, and he's like, he knows your name is Deborah because you guys are from India, and I was like, that doesn't sound right, but so technically I won.
All right. Okay.
I would say nobody in this world will call themselves Deborah unless and until they're from Spain.
Right. Okay.
Because over there, my name completely changed. From Deborah, I became Deborahita. So...
No, but even the Indians would take the name as per the spelling, right?
No. I mean, so my mom's an English teacher and she would have a heart attack listening to that statement.
You're not doing a good job starting this podcast, yeah.
It's okay. All right, okay.
So wait, Vishal,
Yes.
Zayan,
Yes.
Zian.
Zian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all of this brings to my another question, that is, you travel a lot.
I do.
Yes. And why is that? Is that something with the job?
Yes, I travel for work.
Okay.
It's not a lot, but it is approximately 10% of my job. Fortunately, unfortunately, it happened to just coincide with a lot of things happen in January and February. So it just so happened to be back to back, but it wasn't planned.
Right. It's like a season.
Yeah.
It's like
Something like that.
So there will be a season where it will be.
The next 5 months, I am not traveling.
Right. Okay.
Unless for personal reasons.
Right. Amazing. Okay. So if we have started about work, so what is that you do?
I'm a learning and development professional, but I'm also an ICF life coach. I have a background in psychology, so I would say that my job is, so to say, interlinks with people.
Okay.
Why did you even choose psychology? Like what pushed you?
So I've always loved people. I've always loved understanding people, understanding how their mind works, understanding their behaviors, their patterns. I've always had a knack for picking up when something's wrong. And, wasn't really in the position to advise people, yet advised people. So you could say I was probably like an 80-year-old in an 8-year-old's body. So in a way, when you constantly hear that statement that you matured really early on, it doesn't always have something to do with trauma, but sometimes you're just an old soul. So I believe that. And it's what always inclined me towards understanding people more, understanding the way that they function. How do you, blend with them in a way that makes them feel comfortable about themselves?
So because of that, you just felt like, oh, this is what I want to do. So, coming from an Indian Desi background, did you ever had that thing like, why are you doing this study?
Oh, yeah, for sure. All my cousins are doctors and engineers.
Yeah.
I am what you call the black sheep of the family. Well, I want to say my sibling and I. So we both chose to... So I didn't just choose psychology as a major. I have a double major, which is psychology as well as human resource. But they both go hand in hand with each other. So I enjoy both aspects of, I want to say, that part of my degree. So let's say if human resource is something that I get bored of, I can jump into psychology, or the other way around. At the beginning of my career, I didn't know which path was I going to choose. And as life would have it, turns out human resource took a well, I want to say kickstart early on into my life. Not that I ever let go of the psych part of my career because it's dear to my heart. Like I said, 80-year-old in an 8-year-old's body. So I kind of carried that through my HR career with me.
Did you ever, I know you're like complete Dubai kid, but did you ever thought of ever going out to study, or was Dubai your first choice?
I did. I wanted to go to UK actually because I know that their courses in psychology were really nice. I had a whole Excel sheet prepared along with the cost, along with like the breakdown of how much would it be, like in terms of staying, in terms of, living over there. Unfortunately, it got rejected at its first draft.
Oh, no.
So what my father proceeded to do was give me a Mac and an iPad and said, stay here. I got bribed.
Damn, I wish I got bribed like that.
You do not wish that.
No? Okay.
That's so like that's how Desi parents actually...
Unfortunately, I
yeah.
think mine went a little bit too far with that because so my brother did his 11th and 12th grade in Bangalore. He wanted to see what India was like. He didn't have a very nice experience, and they just didn't want another kid to go to a country that they didn't know altogether to have another bad experience. So they were being overprotective with reason, but at the same time with the wrong kid.
Okay. But to be fair, you went to India, you were going to UK. Yeah.
Which is even worse because
exactly.
We hear stories about UK all the time.
It is, yeah.
And now, like, given the Brexit situation, I don't even know how I would have managed over there. If you really think about it.
Yeah, you're right.
So, in a way, missile avoided.
True. But I said, go back to your country and you were like, which one? Dubai, back to UAE or...
Yeah. I think I would have always made Dubai as a choice because it's always been home.
Yeah, fair enough. Did you have difficulty when you moved to Dubai?
Yes, I did. If you have to, like, on a wider perspective, because when I moved, I've been staying with my family all along, and this is the first time I move out of house. So, first thing we do is take an apartment in sharing, right? So sharing an apartment is someone I don't know, and it's like 3 rooms, 3 different people, right, along with me. So yeah, 2 different people. I have to stay with 2 different people. Sharing the kitchen, sharing the wash area, a lot of things, right? So it is a little difficult that way. But when it comes to talking to people or getting along with people, yes, I didn't face that much of difficulty because maybe I was lucky, I would say. That way, because I found the right people around me and who I could connect with. But yeah, other than that, I don't think so. Yeah, financial issues for sure, because I didn't know how to manage my finances at that time because I was staying all by myself. Yeah, but yeah, other than that, I don't have any. Yeah.
But I think that's the good thing about Dubai, right? The culture over here is so vast that people eventually settle in. Either you find your own people or you get along with people who have, just brought up around different culture. So I think that.
I don't think so. It depends from person to person, I would say, because a person who is maybe the way I was brought up, it was much more easier for me to get along with people over here. But then people who come from a very reserved background back in India as well, like, and then it is a cultural shift for them, the way life moves, the fast-paced life over here. And the way people react to certain kinds of things, the way people talk, the way people, I would say, approach. It's very different from how we approach things back in India. So and it definitely takes time for some people to adjust, and some people like they can just take it. Yeah.
Well, Deborah's also a life coach, so if she's open to new client, you can reach out.
Right, yes.
Anyways.
But I get his point. I get Vishal's point because it's the transition from India to Dubai is quite seamless as compared to Dubai to other places, because over here you get spoiled with choices with people. The integration would be much more easier because you're able to find your community, be it within the same nationality or even beyond. So it's a home away from home, so to say. But let's say if you move to any other country, I doubt you would feel that feeling. Like it's a unique feeling that only resides over here.
So, you graduated in 2017.
Yes.
How difficult was finding a job here?
Phew. I spent some 5 months on the couch.
That's not bad.
That's not bad, honestly. But given I never took advantage of the internships that my university had to offer, or interacted with people beyond just the scope of my university, it was a struggle. Because I went in every single job page and I had a million rejections, and I'm just like, what is happening? Is this another 2008 situation where the market is crashing and they're not hiring anymore? I had a million thoughts going on in my head. That's when at some point in time, after facing a gazillion rejection emails, you're kind of maybe it's me, So I said, okay, what can I do to upskill myself? Not that I didn't have any job opportunity, but it just wasn't the one that I wanted, because I wanted to do something HR specific. It could be anything HR specific. But I remember interviewing for a data, well, it's not really a data analyst, but it's more it's almost call center-ish kind of job, but it's more on the data perspective of it. And I remember this person that I went to interview with, he stated that my typing skills were crazy. And in my head, I'm just yeah, probably because of all the university assignments that I did. And I sat and I thought about that, and I'm yes, my typing skills are crazy, but is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? And the immediate answer was always no. If it did not align with me, I couldn't put myself through actually doing it. As simple as that. So I decided to pursue studying again, much to my father's shock, because he honestly thought that after bachelor's, because he had to literally beg both his kids to finish the very minimum, just do your bachelor's and be done with it. And safe to say, I was both a nerd as well as a delinquent when I wanted to be. So my parents had their handful. I ended up doing CIPD. I registered with an academy to do my CIPD degree. And within the academy was within the same building. The main office, so to say, was upstairs. Without my knowledge, they happened to send my CV upstairs, which is where I got my break into the world, I want to say. So I was lucky enough, and blessed as well, that I could start my career early on with such a big name within two factions of HR, not just one. So I was both in recruitment as well as operations. And I hated both.
Wow.
Why?
One made me feel like McDonald's. The other one made me feel like I wasn't interacting with people enough. And people is my passion.
Right, but being in recruitment is something where you interact with people. Right?
Yes, but it became very monotonous because it's the same stuff over and over again. You're asking them about their qualifications. You're asking them.
Right. It's nothing new.
It felt very scripted in my sense. So that's it. So me personally, I felt like McDonald's. While recruitment might be some people's cup of tea, I'm happy for you, but at the same time, it wasn't meant for me.
Right. It was more monotonous and
repetitive. Yes.
Okay.
So you can't work at McDonald's. No. Okay.
So if the market crashes and I'm out of a job, I'm becoming a photographer.
Let's get to that, because I don't think a lot of people don't even know what learning and development is, because to the outside world is just HR, right? So do you want to clear that myth and tell us what exactly it is?
So I would like to think learning and development as a function in a firm where someone gets in there, understands what the firm is about, one, that would be the first layer, and then understands its people and its needs and kind of builds the bridge between the two to make sure that the firm and the people have that invisible link between them, so to say, where they understand each other, so that when the people are doing their daily job, they understand how they contribute towards the firm. And when the firm is coming up with its vision, strategy, values, it understands what its people is about. So they're both concepts that feed into one another, but the invisible bridge between that is learning and development.
Right. And what is the main goal or focus for learning development for any company?
It's people. Because if you do not cater to your people's needs, they're going to be unhappy. And that's a situation that you do not want to be into. Because the people is what drives the business, right? Yes, the customers also, but the people is its core essence. So if you do not cater to, let's say, if you don't water the plant isn't going to grow.
Right.
You want the plant to grow, you got to invest in the plant. So investing in your people is the whole concept of what learning and development is about. It's the company saying, I believe in you and I invest in you because I see growth and a future that you can build. And it's something that we can work together on. I get the confusion that not every organization defines what a learning team is. They kind of club it with an HR roles. But this is a common concept that organizations normally mess up because it is a function that is supposed to be standing individually because it's a pretty large need, so to say, in any firm. But again, it depends on the size of the firm. If it is a small organization, there might not be a necessity for another department, so to say, for learning and development. But if it's a organization of at least 100 people, I mean, you cannot cover 100 people with just one person. You need an extension for that. You need to have a structure that kind of caters to every need of your organization. And if you do not have that for XYZ reason, it is a consequence that you would face down the line as an organization.
Right. And does framing the culture in the company also fall
within learning?
Within the
of course,
learning and
because when you're investing in your people, you're telling them, I have faith in you, I believe in you. And that in itself helps build a culture, not just within the company, but within people itself. Because you would say that, yes, the company exists by itself, but you're spending 12 hours with your colleagues.
Right.
That's the culture, essentially. The people are the culture. So the people that get hired need to be in line with the vision of the company, the values of the company. And if they do not relate to that, they would be building a culture that the company doesn't want, which eventually leads to terminations or a low motivation to do the work or the right way, or just generally being demotivated in your job.
Right. Okay, so can I also say this, that the L&D team is like a bridge between the I would say the employees, the colleagues, and the higher ups?
Good, yes, but I also am like a 50-50 on that because they communicate the needs on what the, let's say, mid-level or lower-level employees require to the people on the, deciding stage, deciding platform, but they also take care of the people above.
Okay.
So it's not just a one-way bridge, it's a two-way bridge.
Right. It's not just the junior.
It's not just
I get it.
communicating up,
Right.
but it's also training throughout.
Right, from C-level till the
Yes.
till the junior position.
Yes,
where
and
it
if
goes.
there's any organization that believes their C-level executives do not require training, that is an organization in trouble, and that's one that you should run from.
Right. Okay, so that's where I was actually trying to come to. So because the training has to go throughout all the layers in the company, I would just put it as layers. So And it's very hard because the seniors, the one at the C level or the senior directors, I would say, they have a particular way of working, and when L&D, and they have been working, and they do have a lot of experience as well. They come with a lot of background, they come with a lot of experience and everything. How easy is it to train them, I would say, and compared to the one who have just started their career and who have just joined the company?
Oof. You would be surprised, but with my experience, the guys that are on C level, like C executive levels or whatever, they're much more open to training as compared to the guys that are on junior levels.
Wow. Okay.
Why is that?
Because with experience comes the understanding that you don't know everything. But when you're new in any organization, you're like, I got this. I know everything. I've learned all of this. I know this. But you often get feedback saying that this is a learning curve for you. You're not a know-it-all. And most people do not take feedback positively. So that in turn will affect their motivation levels. Whereas it takes a certain amount of perception, a certain amount of understanding that this is not personal feedback. This is professional feedback. This is a learning curve for you to understand that you need to be open to learning. You need to be open to change, because change, while it is uncomfortable, it is a necessity for growth.
Okay. What is the tough part of your job? Most toughest part of your job?
I would say finding people invested in learning as much as we are within the business to support us to deliver programs across the business.
Right. Can you explain this a little bit more? Yeah, with an example maybe or something. Yeah.
So let's say we're hosting a training program. We need to find faculty for that training program, but we can't just choose anybody. We have to choose someone that is skilled, that can convince the audience, that can deliver the impactful presentation that we wish them to deliver, and that can gain well, it's not about them just delivering for the sake of delivering. It's also for the audience absorbing the knowledge and this toolkit that they need to absorb in that room. So it's a lot of variables that are there at stake. So it's a lot of, I want to say, checklists that you need to go to in order to get someone to be a trainer for a certain program. But nonetheless, it's worth it at the end of the day, because that's when you see the ultimate result and the session being great, But those are necessities which are important, and not everybody ticks that criteria list. So that's the most difficult part of my job, is that finding the right people to tick that criteria list to make sure that the program is executed efficiently, effectively, and impactfully.
Right. So that's the toughest part of the...
For me, yes.
Yes. Okay.
I wouldn't say for everybody. Of course, there are different nuances that people consider to be...
Right.
So would you say the learning and development department, would you guys, or that department specifically, also focuses on certain individuals where you see the performance is down, the manager be like, listen, this person's performance is down, I don't know what to do. Is that something you would take up, or that's completely different?
That is something that we take up also, because the person and their performance being down, it doesn't just mean that their performance is down. It also means that they would need assistance into bringing it up, which contributes again to needs analysis. So it means that they lack a certain skill that they need to upskill themselves in. It could be something as basic as Excel. It could be something as basic as PowerPoint. But nonetheless, it is a skill that you need to upskill yourself on. So in situations like this, of course, this is where the learning department would get involved to make sure that the person is well equipped to tackle whatever comes their way down the lane after that first conversation.
Okay. I want your 2 cents on something. So, there's a recent controversy going on within our podcast, where we had a podcast with someone else, and they were like all Gen Zs, and it was Vishal against Gen Zs. And Vishal has an issue that, Gen Z people are not responsible, they're not accountable, or something like that. He has an issue with them. they have an issue. We want to work 9 to 6. We don't want to work after hours, which I was like, you should, because that's what job culture is like. So there was a big back and forth there. And to die down the conversation, I was like, listen, I believe the HR department in this region, they feel like their job is just hire, and then that's it, exit interview. There's a whole department which needs to be about, if there's an issue within the manager and the employee, sort that. If the performance issue, fix that, make a plan. Is that a right take or not? What do you feel?
And give your 2 cents about Gen Z as well. And working with Gen Z. Yeah.
I would kind of build this towards a much more broader topic rather than just Gen Z and millennials, into personalities. People have different personalities, and there's a different approach that you need to. Every individual is unique. There's a different approach that you need to apply with them, and it doesn't matter on what group are they born on. I mean, for me personally, you could basically be talking about astrology when you're speaking about Gen Z and millennials, because it makes that much sense.
Okay.
So to categorize a large group of people into that category just doesn't bode well, because you need to understand an individual in their essence to understand, okay, they have a problem with XYZ, how do you tackle it? Or they have, let's say, this timing thing, for example, they only are going to work from 9 to 6. What does that say about them? It says that they value their personal time. And while they are investing in those 9 to 6 hours, are they truly investing? Are they taking breaks in between, like long breaks in between? Are they just there for the sake of it and like leaving? Those are factors that you need to consider as well. It isn't just about, I want to say, sitting at a desk working 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, but it's also about the impact that work from 9 to 6 is causing. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you always have to put in a few extra hours, but it doesn't mean that you never have to also.
Okay.
You agree with this?
I do agree.
Last time you disagreed when I said the same thing.
No, you didn't say the same thing.
It was on the same lines.
We have it on record.
I know. But yeah, thank you for that. So, you've been here in this industry for, I think, 8 years now? What would you say are the key learning experiences you've taken away?
Change is uncomfortable, but change is always a necessity. You think you know everything, but you never know anything. You always have to be open to learning. The age difference between individuals it comes with a learning curve. So there are going to be people that are older than you in the organization whom you can learn from, but at the same time, their working styles might be very different to yours. So it takes a certain level of patience, a certain level of adaptability from your end to make that learning environment or that working space safe for you. Because you're responsible for the space that you are in. It isn't always the other person.
Fair enough. That's a good point.
I have a professional question. Like, apart from the skills and talent that you have with respect to your job, what else should a person have in their personality to grow or to, I would say, climb up the ladder?
I don't think that's a personality thing. I think it's more to do with your attitude.
Okay.
If you have a attitude where you are open to learning, open to growing, open to making mistakes, because let's face it, the only way you grow is through making mistakes, through trial and error. Going up the ladder, while it might take time, it is an eventual process. It will happen. But if you're someone that's impatient, that wants quick gratification or that wants quick results, you'll never see it happen like by the click of a finger. Like immediate success always almost deems immediate downfall, because anything that's got fast isn't worked the hard way, which makes it difficult for you to understand its value to keep it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, off the topic, but when you talk about immediate success doesn't happen, because then it leads to immediate downfall, and you have to be consistent across, right? I was just thinking about stock markets and everything is the same concept everywhere. Like, it goes up immediately and then it falls. Yeah. Yeah, but a stock which is like consistent and is just gradually growing, it just grows. So it's the same.
Yeah, because if you're going to invest in something that has let's say, that yields high results, it means that they're obviously investing in anything and everything that has the stocks that are going up every second. But those stocks aren't always rising. They, of course, have downfalls based on XYZ reason. Yeah. You never get a heads up on that reason. So, of course, if you were investing gradually, the returns might be lower, but almost always sure.
Right. Okay. Right. So when you go back home at the end of the day, like, definitely not all days are going to be the same. Yeah. What is your point of satisfaction? Like, oh, today I did this, I'm satisfied. Like, what gives you satisfaction in your job?
Mm-hmm. That's a nice one. I can give you an example of something that was held recently. So we had a learning program in Barcelona. And right after the learning program, we always do a little bit of marketing, put up a post and kind of say that, we did this and so and so. My point of gratification was when people actually realize the value that was invested in them and understand that this is impactful for them. So it's the feedback that you get from those individuals that you have invested in. It's the feedback from the faculty that you've chosen. It's the feedback from the venue. It's a lot of details that you need to coordinate in itself. But it's the whole shebang, so to say, that tells you that, okay, yes, I've done a good job.
Wow. Okay. Right. Now, I was just saying this whole traveling with the job thing is so interesting. Like, is it of interest to you?
Thank you. Given that I haven't ever traveled prior to working with this organization, it is a topic of interest for me. It's interesting because I have almost always traveled with my mom, and my mom's always been the person in front to kind of go like, okay, we need to do this and that we need to do this. And all of a sudden, I caught my first flight back in March last year. And then the second flight was with my mom, and my mom was like, in her la la land, and she just let me do everything by myself. And I'm like, wow, this is how I felt. And this is how the roles had completely switched. So yeah, it gives you a sort of independence, but it's also wonderful in terms of understanding that this is something that you yourself can do, and you don't always need to rely on a person. You get to know new cultures, you get to build new friends. I've made a lot of friends while traveling for work. So it does impact my life in a positive way.
Nice. And is it like just certain places that you get to travel, or is it like new places? Wherever the organization is, you travel there, right? In those countries.
In a nutshell, we host learning programs for a week long in different places for different audiences. So based on the audience and the place selected, we travel there to coordinate the whole event.
Right. We can cut it, this question, the next question, if you want to. But what's your best set of audience like, where you had good fun?
Kids.
Kids?
Kids.
Now, I was talking with respect to countries.
I think she knew what she doesn't want to.
So we don't have our audiences in those countries. So I belong to an office that has the region that takes care of the region. So we take people from the region to those different countries.
Okay.
And we host them there.
Right. Okay. How important do you think is work-life balance?
Very.
Okay.
So I think COVID kind of made us all realize how important work-life balance actually was, because being locked up in your house all day doesn't work, nor does being locked up working 24/7 does. So understanding what works for you, if it's a 9 to 5, or if it's like 9 to 3, or if it's like 3 to one. Like you figure out your own schedule as long as you work in an environment that's flexible with it. I think that's perfectly fine. But balance in itself is very crucial for you understanding yourself, your own personal growth, as well as your professional growth, as well as relating to the company that you are working in.
Right. Can you share some strategies to achieve this balance?
For me, personally, I enjoy going to the gym after work. So I tend to spend 3 hours in the gym after work, which also says that I have 0 responsibilities in my life currently. But nonetheless, that's a great way for me to like kind of just unwind and relax. Normally I went through the phase where, Netflix would work with like Chinese food, but didn't like it as much as gym.
I don't think that lasts very long.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you that kind of satisfaction, I guess. Like, going to the gym feels more productive than just watching.
It's not just working out, honestly, because I built a community for myself over there. So I have a whole circle of friends that kind of encourage and motivate one another.
Right.
My partner also goes to the gym, so that also helps. So we end up like just enjoying an activity that we do together.
You talk about building relationships and how you love people and just talking to people. I'll ask you 3 several questions. So how do you go about it? What has been your worst experience, and which just didn't go out your way? And how would you deal with someone like you mentioned? There's sometimes there's an age gap. So the older one, how would you go with someone who's older to you? What's your strategy around that?
Worst experience would be a coaching client of mine. Completely couldn't connect with him at all. I really, really did want to help him as a coach, but unfortunately it took a certain level of maturity and a certain level of understanding from my end to realize that I wasn't the right fit for this individual. Because while it took me understanding my personality and his personality and understanding that this just doesn't gel well, because I'm more of an emotional approach sort of person, and he was more of a logical approach sort of person. So explaining an emotional approach to a logical person just constantly had me talking to walls that he put up, and while in a coaching situation, you require them to let their walls down. So I then had to refer him to a friend of mine who is also a coach, and then kind of have a transference of case.
Oh, wow. Actually, this is something new. So it's not that with everyone you can be successful in...
Oh, of course not. Because like I said, learning is also acknowledging that you're not going to be successful at everything. Acknowledging your failures, acknowledging that trial and error is possible in every aspect of life, not just in your work environment, but also in other aspects.
Right. And every coach has a different strategy of approach.
Yeah.
Basically.
It depends on their individual personality, on their experiences. They're people at the end of the day as well.
Right.
Can you clarify a difference between, let's say a life coach?
A psychologist. Yeah.
I think that's needed. I don't think he's the only one who's not going to understand it. So for everyone, yeah.
So a psychologist is what you would call a shrink, someone that can diagnose you with XYZ, whatever is happening with you, diagnose you as well as be able to prescribe medicines to you. Whereas a psychologist can be seen more as a friend who you can have candid conversations with and just,
Psychologist or a life coach?
A psychologist. Okay. Where you're diving into your experiences in depth and kind of just reliving those situations all over again with someone else also being a part of it this time. Coaching isn't as in-depth. It's more along the lines of understanding that you have been through this situation without knowing the details, just knowing the gist of it, and guiding you through getting at a point where you are comfortable with that experience or you're comfortable with that situation that happened in your life without being your friend, so to say, but coaching you to that situation where you can guide yourself to get over that. So it's a lot of question answer sort of segments. It's a lot of what would you do differently if you could go back in time and advise yourself about XYZ situation. It isn't a diagnosis, but it's more of a how would you speak to yourself if you could go back in time and change the situation, and what can you do differently now? So it's more of a guidance.
Okay. You obviously coming from a psychology background, was it difficult to separate the two when you were going to play? Yeah. Oof.
So difficult. When I first sat in my coaching class, I thought this was utter bullshit. And I actually told the facilitator that, and he goes like, give me 3 days. If you still think this is bullshit, you're welcome to leave the class and I will refund you your fees. And I'm like, cool, win-win. I'm very outspoken about what I think. And some people like it, some people not as much.
Yeah.
Still friends with that facilitator. He kind of broke that ideology because day one I thought it was bullshit. Day two was bullshit as well. Day three was when my mind was blown.
Okay.
And that for me is an experience that I would hold for a lifetime and kind of, help other people through as well. So had I not been through that, I wouldn't be in a situation where I had people being vulnerable, people being themselves, people asking me, okay, I have this situation, how do I get over this? Or I have these experiences, how do I move past these experiences? Or, like different scenarios of life, because life happens.
It sounds like an experience when you're saying it, because I mean, that's what I was thinking, like coming from that background, separating two has to be a difficult thing.
Currently, I'm an 82-year-old in a 28-year-old's body.
Fair enough, yeah. I'm a 90-year-old in a 26-year-old's body because of my back pain. Yeah. Yeah.
We move to the next segment about career highlights and the challenges that you have faced. So throughout your experience, what are some of your career highlights and what are the challenges that you have faced?
Some of my highlights are, of course, facilitation. I never thought I would get into facilitation, but I did. And I enjoyed it to my very core. Another aspect of that would be interacting with so many different nationalities. I was raised in a completely Indian all-girls school without being exposed to different nationalities or even boys. But knowing that I can adjust so wonderfully in any and all environments that I am thrown into is a life skill that I did not know I had. And that was a discovery for me. Definitely goes into a strength. Learning how to deal with those that were older to me in the working profession and how do I change my working style to adapt to that was a learning curve for me because it's very different. Because it's similar to what Vishal said about the 9 to 6 thing. And I did not believe in that. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life 24 hours a day working. This is not me. I'm someone that will get the job done in the right amount of time, lesser time even, and be done with it. And I'm blessed to be in a situation where I am able to do that and still have a life after that.
Right. So reflecting on your whole career journey, right? How has it helped you grow professionally and personally?
I'm more confident in what I say.
You're more confident
in what I say.
Right. Okay.
It doesn't matter if I'm delivering a training or if I'm speaking to someone. The aura that you bring into the room with you speaks a lot about you. The way that you sit, the way that you behave, the way that you dress up. I see a huge change in me when I was 22 versus when I am now. Just this morning, actually, I told my mom, I noticed that my dressing style has completely changed because when I was in Barcelona, I'm of course going to shop.
Of course. Yeah.
I have like a suitcase full of Zara stuff, but it wasn't just... So younger me would have gone for clothes that were more colorful, brighter, not as sophisticated as I am right now. And like the clothing that I have right now is much more calmer, gracious is what I want to say, as well as modest. Which I cannot say that it was back then. Not that I'm saying that it was completely like immoral or whatever, but like it wasn't the same. There's been a huge shift in that. And she just laughed and she went like, yeah, you were going through a phase.
Wow. Okay.
I think it's the same with me as well. Like, not as I wouldn't be like not the same as yours, but I was more of like, because I was introduced to hospitality industry, and in hospitality industry there's a way of dressing and showcase yourself. So I think I learned a lot in terms of that, like how to show yourself, like personality and everything, when I shifted to hospitality industry.
You always had that aura.
No, come on, no. I compare myself, like I compare the pictures like when I used to be dressed before I
Every morning you come with the sunglasses inside the building.
Take a compliment.
Yeah, that's the first compliment throughout.
Oh, I'm just honest.
Right. Okay, moving ahead. What are your aspirations for future?
I would personally love to be a shrink someday. Shrink. Because that is something that feeds into my passion. Of course, it wouldn't be this early on in my career, but it would probably be at a later point in time once I settle down, have a family of my own, and I would like more time back to myself rather than spend 9 to 5 at a job, but have much more flexible work timings where I can have kids, cater to them, as well as, be a mom and then be a wife, and as well as be a shrink and help someone else. So it caters to all the different aspects that I want to take care of at that point in time.
Would you choose a specific age group to be part of, or is it like for everyone? Because a lot of people have preference, like, I would be a shrink just for kids, or some people have the preference of teenagers.
No, for me, it's life, like shit happens. Everyone, no matter their age, needs to talk about it, needs to get it out of their system. And if I can be an outlet for that, why not? If I can help even one person for that, for me, that would be my job well done in that point in time.
What's your advice to the young professionals who are getting into this career?
For someone that's just getting into learning and development, I would say try the different factions of HR to see which shoe fits, because it's kind of like Cinderella going to a ball. Like you're dancing with everyone, but you don't exactly know who your Prince Charming is. I was lucky to find out in my third try that this was learning and development, and it fit like a glove. But not everyone is always as lucky to find out what they aspire to be or what they want to be or enjoy work, so to say, that early on in their career. So try different things, figure out what fits, and just stick to it.
Would you say that it's not an easy thing to do as well? Because a lot of kids, especially, when I graduated, and a lot of my friends, they had this fear of not finding anything, so they just stick to what they got, especially this part of the region.
You have to be bigger than your fear. Faith over fear, right? Because if you don't have faith in yourself, how do you believe that someone else is going to believe anything that you're going to do or say?
Points. Yeah.
You got to be your number one supporter.
What do you think about that?
I don't know words today. I'm very I'm listening to these words, and I'm trying to like reflect it within myself right now, as I don't have anything to like share, but just absorb it.
It's the last question, which was like, what is success to you, and how would you define success? And for you, do you feel, what do you need to do to be successful for yourself?
For me, success would be when I when I have the people that I care about around me happy, and I'm able to either financially, mentally, or spiritually, or in any manner be able to support and contribute to that happiness. For me, that's my definition of success. For professionally, it would be something along the lines of not hating what I do and finding a satisfaction, well, not every day, but at least every week. That's bare minimum. Like, there are going to be hard days, there are going to be good days as well. So I understand it's not an everyday thing, but at least an every week thing. Like, as long as at the end of the week I can be like, yeah, this was good. I did it. I made the right choice.
Okay, I just want to know about your view about this whole manifestation thing that happens in the internet, and how internet has basically abused this word, this concept, and has it abused, or and also your view about this whole manifestation.
I think it's true. It's 1000% true, because when you're manifesting, you're not saying, oh my God, I wish I am a millionaire, and tomorrow you're a millionaire. That's not how it works. But it's you setting a goal for yourself. It's like a 5-year plan. So you setting a goal for yourself and seeing that goal, for example, and visualizing that goal and working towards that goal subconsciously, consciously, in every manner and aspect of your life. So let's say if I want to buy a house in the next 5 years, I put a picture up of what kind of house I want on a board, and I look at that board every day, every single day, before I go to sleep, when I wake up. I'm just like, I'm going to get there. How am I going to get there? Don't really know. But subconsciously, my mind is already working towards like creating that environment where I am able to attain that. So while the internet is a great source of getting information, it's also how you absorb that information. I have manifested many, many, many things in my life myself. So I'm a big believer of that. But I'm also a believer of it's not like, tomorrow I'm going to be a millionaire kind of manifestation, but it's doable manifestations. But there's also the saying that all the genius people in this world are a little bit insane. So go big or go home, right? So even if you dream of being a billionaire, go for it. Put it up on that board, create a visual board so that you can look at it every day, visualize what your life would look like on that path. And subconsciously as well as consciously, you'll start making up methods and working towards that goal that you have imagined for yourself.
What do you think?
Now, thank you so much for this podcast.
Very welcome, Vishal.
Thank you so much. Right before we ended, this is not for Deborah, but this is for Mr. Rafa Philly. You told my co-host Vishal your marketing team would reach out to us. Still hasn't. So we're kind of waiting for that. So, but yeah, thank you. Thank you for watching the Karak Chat Podcast.